कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीरितं कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. So, we were studying the preparatory bhakti, the sadhana bhakti. And of that there are the 9 components. The first, the second and the third we have already studied. The Sravana, Kirtana and Smarana, and now comes the 4th component. Today we will take up the 4th component of this Navadaha Bhakti, the 9 components of Bhakti, of that the 4th one. And that is Pada Sevana, the service of God's feet, the literal meaning. The literal meaning is service of God's feet, service of Ishvara's feet. Now, the question may come that how to serve God's feet. So here the word Pada Sevana has to be understood in its proper implication. What is the proper implication? With that we'll try to understand. So this is the 4th practice, and it is synonymous to Seva or Paricharya. Just service, the Seva, or Paricharya. In Sanskrit the word Seva is also synonymous to Paricharya. So this, in somewhere you will find instead of Pada Sevana they are mentioning Seva or Paricharya. So this all denotes service to Ishvara. Now, what actually the feet of Ishvara signifies? So we will find that in our Upanishads it's mentioned that the entire phenomenal existence is permeated by the Lord and Lord alone. The Isha Upanishad, if you all remember, the very first verse of Isha Upanishad states that Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. The entire creation is to be pervaded by the Lord and Lord alone, because it is He who is manifesting as the universe. So, this idea in the Bhagavatam we find has been depicted very nicely in the incarnation of Vishnu as the Vamana avatar. It has been depicted in the Canto 8, in the part 8 of the Bhagavatam, from the chapters 18 to 23. There we will find the Vamana avatar has been spoken of. The Vamana means dwarf. One is dwarf. So this Vamana was a dwarf. So he was born of the sage Kashyapa and his wife Aditi. The sage Kashyapa and Aditi's son, as a son of Kashyapa and Aditi, he was born, the dwarf, the Vamana. And this story unfolds during the reign of King Bali. So he was an Asura, but he was a noble Asura. So he defeated the gods and took control of the heavens, pushing Indra and other deities into hiding. But he was kind to his own fellow citizens. To them he was very kind. But after all, it speaks of creating a disorder in the cosmic order. So it never entailed any justification that I will be kind to my citizens at the cost of harming others. Even in modern time, that type of nationalism is called chauvinistic nationalism. That for the good of my own people, even to exploit others is okay. So that type of idea, the entire colonialism, that which we so much at present censor, this colonialism, what was the concept? That for the prosperity of my nation, even exploiting others, that's okay. So that way, we find that for hundreds of years, so many civilizations were totally destroyed. The total idea behind the colonialism was uniformity. God's idea is unity in diversity. That there will be so many people, so many tribes, so many nations, each will develop in its own way. And that was somehow annihilated, tried to be annihilated, it couldn't be annihilated, with the attempt to make everything uniform. The only civilization is the Western civilization, and that's the civilization which should be adopted by all the these nations, tribes. That was the attempt which we find. And that created a disorder. So here also we will find, many will question, that King Bali was a very noble asura. He was quite kind to his own so-called fellow citizens. Then why there was a need for the god to incarnate to subdue Bali? Because that his nationalism was something in the present day like colonialism. It's like a chauvinistic nationalism. It creates a type of disorder. It threatens the cosmic order. So, though Bali was known for his generosity and he was beloved to his subjects, his power threatened the cosmic balance, the cosmic order. And that's why the Lord had to incarnate. And to restore this balance, the gods sought the help of Lord Vishnu. And the Vishnu who is being depicted as the ultimate Godhead, he is the one who is the Ishvara. So he disguised as the dwarf Brahmin, the Vamana, and then he attended the grand sacrifice. When the Bali hosted a sacrifice. In those days, in these sacrifices, apart from the fire sacrifice, it has to be associated with dana. This helping the others, those who are in need. So this lot of dana, lot of philanthropic activities had to be associated with yajna. So this grand yajna, there was lot of these philanthropic activities which Bali undertook. And he, as a good king for his own citizens, he declared that whatever people need, he is there to open up his treasures and give it all to his citizens. So when given the opportunity, now when Vamana came and he asked for this boon, he was asked for a boon. And Vamana requested that, yes, I just request for 3 steps of land. I will walk over 3 steps, and those 3 steps of land I want. And King Bali first never understood that what this Vamana is actually asking for. And he was ready to grant, but his guru, the guru of the demons, the Shukracharya. So being the guru of the demons, he was also the guru of the King Bali. He warned. Actually, he understood that who Vamana is, what his true identity is. He understood. And he warned Shukracharya, he warned Bali that beware of what you are going to grant. And listening to Shukracharya's warning, Bali also understood that what's going to happen. But he was Satyavrata. In that way, he has very good qualities. That whatever promise I have taken, I am not going to break it. Even if it is at the cost of my own damage, of my own is my destruction of my wealth, of my kingdom, whatever it may be. What I have promised, I will grant. I promise that whoever asks me whatever, I am going to give. So now, Bali, therefore, in spite of the Shukracharya's warning, we find Bali agrees to the request. And as soon as Bali is granted the wish, this now Vamana began to grow in size. That's what is mentioned in the Bhagavad Purana. And he covered the entire universe. And with his first step, he placed his entire foot on the earth, claiming it as his own. The second step, with that he covered the heavens, taking control of all the celestial realms above the earth. And now he asked, where shall I keep my third step? I have covered the heavens and the earth with my 2 steps. And now Bali, as he has already promised that he will grant, so he now humbly just says that you can put it on my head. He offered his own head for Vamana's third step. And Vamana placed his foot on Bali's head, pushing him down to Patala, the nether world. Just see, in 3 steps, the Lord has covered the entire creation. Even in the Upanishad, it is mentioned, Tripadasya, that he, with 3 steps, he has covered the entire creation. So, what's the idea behind it? The story is that the Lord is permeating the entire universe. With which his 3 steps, he has covered the entire universe. To serve his feet means to serve this creation, the phenomenal existence. So this Pada Sevana is a service of Ishvara's feet. It actually, what it symbolizes? Worshipping God through selfless service to all beings. Seeing the entire creation as his manifestation. So we find these ideas which Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna is preaching. Shiva, Jnana, Jiva, Seva is not something new. It's there in our scriptures. But somehow they were not highlighted. They somehow became, to a certain extent, covered up. What Sri Ramakrishna did, what Sri Swami Vivekananda did, he brought out those ideas. It was there. Why we are just stressing this idea? Because many say that Swami Vivekananda, by going to the West and seeing the lot of philanthropic activities which the church undertake in an organized way, Swamiji got inspired and he got the idea of service from there. So just to counter that idea, we will find that these ideas are wonderfully depicted in our scriptures. In this Bhagavatam it is there. There are so many verses, the slokas, which actually indicates that. So this idea of serving the humanity as the God, this God is manifesting as this entire creation to serve the Lord by serving the creation, by keeping in mind that I am actually serving the Lord, is a very exalted form of worship. So this idea again we will find again in the Bhagavatam, in the 3rd canto, in the 3rd part of the Bhagavatam, where the story of the incarnation of Ishvara as Kapila. You know that we have 6 philosophies. The Sankhya philosophy that has been propounded by Rishi Kapila. He is again considered as one of the avatars, as the divine incarnation of Vishnu. And this, in the avatara as Kapila, we'll find a very nice incident. What's that incident? That is a story of the incarnation of the divine, and he came as this Rishi Kapila, and when he was young, he wanted to leave his home, to renounce his hearth and home and go into the forest and lead the life of a renunciate. Now his mother also had a very nice divine temperament, spiritual temperament. Her name was Devahuti. Now she knew who Kapila was. Though Kapila was her son, but she knew that his real nature, that actually he is the divine who is incarnated as his son. And now the mother is praying to his son Kapila, that my dear son, before you leave, before you renounce, before you go, please give some spiritual instructions. And there we find Kapila is giving some spiritual instructions to his mother, and therein we find the verses relating to the serving the Lord in all beings. Wonderful these verses are there. A few of the verses we will indicate that it is in the 3rd, as we mentioned, this entire episode is in the 3rd canto. On the 3rd canto, the 29th chapter, the 21st verse, what it is saying? Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma avasthita sada. Bhuta atma avasthita sada. Bhutatma avasthita sada. That I stay as the Atma, as the self of the entire existence of the Bhuta. Avasthita means to reside. I reside as the self of the entire creation. Sarveshu Bhuteshu. Tam avagyaya mang martya kurute archi virambanam. And forgetting that, when they just pray to me by offering something in the altar, that worship is something just virambana. It's just an empty show. Just see, this is a very, very powerful verse in the Bhagavatam. We find this idea even in the Bible. That Jesus is saying so nicely that if you have some quarrel with your brother and you go to offer something in the altar, that offering won't be accepted. First resolve your fight with your brother, with your neighbor, and then come to the altar. So the same idea here also. Tam avagyaya. So these ideas we find is echoing in all the scriptures. That if someone neglects or disregards the soul everywhere, the Lord as the soul is existing in the heart of each and every being, and one disregards that and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is just an empty show. Virambana. That is virambana. That is empty show. So that's from just see from this, the root of Shiva Jnana Jiva Shiva is here. So even in the 27th, a few verses later, we find that the same idea, what it is being mentioned, Atha, therefore. Atha means therefore. As I am there in each and every being, and forgetting me in each and every being, just worshipping the deity as an idol, is just a vain show, empty show. After saying that, what is saying? Therefore, Atha mang sarva bhuteshu bhutatmanam kritalayam arhayet danamanabhyam maitrya abhinnena chakshusha. Wonderful idea. That arhayet means worship me. Where in all beings, ahang mang sarva bhuteshu bhutatmanam kritalam, krita alayam, I have made my residing place. Krita alayam means residing place. Krita means I have already met. Where? In the heart of all the existence. Therefore worship there. Arhayet means worship. How to worship? Dana manabhyam maitriya abhinnena chakshusha. That this worship is not like that I am giving some offering, as Swami says, the giver is on the pedestal and the one who is accepting the gift is on the ground. No, not that way. That speaks of ego. Dana, along with mana. That's a very interesting idea. Mana means the one whom I am giving, he is the Lord himself. So I am supposed to kneel down. The giver should kneel down. The one who is accepting the gift, he should be standing on the pedestal with mana, with respect. And not only that, maitriya, with a sense of this friendship, that he is as if my kith and kin. Abhinnena chakshusha, as the self in me is the same self in him. So actually we are all one with the Lord. There is our identity, unity. So when I am offering something to someone, it is not with the sense of a superiority. That will just help, that will just build our ego. So with that humility, with the sense of offering, it is not just I am helping someone. I am offering the divine in that form. He has appeared to me in that form. The Lord is there in that form. And I am offering whatever I have to offer to the Lord who has appeared to me in that form. So that's the wonderful idea we find in the Bhagavatam. So now you will understand what Pada Sevanam means. So first they were speaking of thinking of the Lord, hearing about his divine play from the scriptures, kirtana, is singing, dancing in the name of the Lord, smarana, constantly remembering the Lord, but not at the exclusiveness. Just these practices are not exclusive practices where I have totally segregated myself, separated myself from the entire existence. No. All those things are okay, but it has to be associated along with my service to the entire humanity by the entire being, not only human beings, all creatures. So I have to Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva. Many will be translating as service to man as service to God. It's a wrong translation. Sri Ramakrishna never says service to man. Jiva. Jiva means all the beings. Jiva, Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. Serving all beings, thinking them as the Shiva and Shiva alone. So that's the idea which we find is there in the Bhagavatam, and that's what is the Pada Sevanam means. The Lord, by his feet, has covered the entire creation, and that gives the idea this entire creation is nothing but permeated by the divine and divine alone, and seeing the divine in his creation and serving all beings. By seeing the Lord in each and every being, that becomes the worship, and that has been designated as Pada Sevanam. So this wonderful idea we find in Bhagavatam. But at the same time, that though this entire creation is the manifestation of the divine, it is the manifestation of the divine, the entire creation. But God specially manifests in the sages, in the saints, in the holy places. Just the sun gets reflected in the dirty, murky water, in clear water, in some shining metal, in the mirror. Everywhere it is getting reflected, but the reflection is most prominent in the mirror, and then the shining metal. So what's the sun reflection? The sun rays is everywhere, but it manifests in some places more prominently. So those who have cleansed their mind, they are like the mirror. They are the sages, the saints. In them, the manifestation of the divine is something palpable. Go to the holy place, how the holy place has been formed, where the sages have been performing, performing all the spiritual practices, endeavoring to evolve spiritually for thousands of years. Those places were always being visited for that purpose exclusively. And all these holy vibrations, the thought creates a vibration. This holy vibration saturates those places. And that's how the holiness of the holy places are developed. As even in the Bhagavatam we find that idea is there. Tirthi kurvanti sadhava. The sadhava, the sadhakas, by their sadhana, by their spiritual endeavor, they create the holy place, the vibration there. Tirthi kurvanti sadhava. So these are the places which are more palpably, this vibrating as if with the spiritual vibration. The spirituality is more manifested. The divinity is more manifested in the holy men, in this so-called religious holy places, the pilgrimages. So that's why, yes, service to the entire creation is Pada Sevanam. But the Pada Sevanam is something more superior when these sages, we serve the sages, the saints. And not only that, we go to the holy places and try to maintain the purity of the place by resorting to exclusive spiritual practices that I also add up to the spiritual vibration there, and these all are also considered as Pada Sevana. So in Bhagavatam we find that along with the idea of serving all entire creation, all the beings as the manifestation of the Lord, this idea is also there. What is saying? So we find in the very first canto, the second chapter, the 16th verse, what it is saying? Susrushoho Sraddhadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipraha Punyatirtha Nishevanat. So these sages, these twice born sages, what is this? Vipra is this? This all the twice born sages. What is the twice born? The first birth is the biological birth, And second birth is the spiritual. When we get initiated to the spiritual life, that is the second birth. So all those who have been initiated on the spiritual way of living, they are all the Vipras. So such persons, by serving to such persons, the devotees who are completely freed from all sorts of impurities, all vices, and by dwelling in the holy places and resorting to spiritual practices there, we do a great service that is of something superlative degree, the great service. And by such service one will be gaining the affinity for hearing. Then you develop the love to listen to the scriptures. For most of the people, scriptures doesn't attract. So you need some qualification, some purification to really develop the affinity to listen to the scriptures. And this is the cleansing process. Just be near the holy person. Try to be in association with the holy person. Their vibrations that will start affecting us, even without our knowing, in a very subtle way, unconsciously. Just by being in their presence, we find we are gradually sipping, the spirituality is sipping in us, gradually. So that's the importance of, significance of association with the holy person. So be with them and be with we be the holy person, serve them. So what you say, that serving the holy person actually helps in promoting spirituality. The one who is fully engaged in spiritual life. So if the society is there to take care of such person, then the spirituality flourishes. So that's why serving the holy person has been prescribed in all the scriptures. And be in such holy places so that you also get saturated with all those holy vibrations. And then you develop the affinity to listen to the divine wisdom, to the holy scriptures, the divine wisdom. So you develop the affinity. So the same thing we find even in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita. They are also having the same idea. They are saying that seva is specifically in reference to the service rendered to the one who is already spiritually illumined, who has attained to the certain height of spirituality. They are accomplished practitioners. And we have to serve them with a sense of gratitude and for receiving guidance and instruction. So in Bhagavad Gita, what it is mentioned? Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. So learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Enquire from him with reverence and render service unto him. Now such an enlightened saint can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Very interesting. These ideas are very subtle. Sometimes it becomes very difficult to understand that why should I serve others? It speaks of a type of slavery as if. Especially in the modern days with the idea of too much individual freedom, the idea of serving others. We have a sense of repulsion. But we forget, even in the modern days, we are finding that even in psychology, some new branch is coming up called positive psychology. And there they say that for the qualitative improvement of our life, to have more happiness in our life, we have to practice certain traits, which traits are not new. We have to recognize the old wisdom. The entire positive psychology says that we are not devising something new. It is there in our scriptures, in all the scriptures. Somehow we neglected them. We have to recognize them again and start that realizing the importance of them in our day-to-day life. If we inculcate them, it has a great role to play in our life. And one such quality is gratitude. That in life, if we have a sense of gratitude for all the things which has enriched our life, that itself speaks of a positive trait which actually improves the quality of life. It contributes to our happiness. Even in the modern days we find. So here it is not a sense of slavery. It's actually a sense of gratitude. That these sages, by leading a holy life, have realized some spiritual truth, and they are contributing to the humanity that truth, by following which each and every being will find a tremendous fulfillment in life. So out of gratitude, that such service has to be rendered to such person. Even in the modern days, you will find that many says that are all the so-called holy men, are they all genuine? Are they all advanced? So many are who are not much advanced. Why should we render service to them? Why our wealth, our money, our labor should be spent for them? It's very interesting. Even in the modern days, you will find it's a government policy. In any university you go, there is a research department. All the PhD students, the postdoctorate students. And their entire livelihood is from what they are doing their research. Now, what they are doing is something very interesting. Are they selling some product? No. The government, whatever revenue they get from that, they have made it a law. A certain percentage should go for the research work. Now, all these research works which are going on, we will find that the real productive research is really something very, very few. Most of the research work as such doesn't yield any result to the society. It's not that productive. Only a few can be something which is productive for the entire society. And then the idea becomes, then is it a waste then? There's so much of research works are going on, most of them are of no use. At last, the cartloads of your research work is lying somewhere in the garage. With that, what the society has actually been helped, we don't know. Then what's the use of so much of money being spent for that? The government is actually made it a law that there has to be some percentage of our revenue for this research work. That in spite of all this research, 90% of which may not be of any use, but the 10% of that can bring and revolutionize the civilization, society. Those few discoveries can bring a leap in the civilization. We all know that. And that's the same thing here. The service to the holy man is the same idea. If some people are allowed to lead an exclusively spiritual life, maybe all of them may not succeed. All of them may not be genuine. But when we are just contributing our labor, our resources to maintain this, this type of service, a few, as Rani Rashmani was there, as Mathur was there, to just take care of Sri Ramakrishna's need. That's why we get Sri Ramakrishna. It's not that Mathur and Rashmani was only taking care of Ramakrishna's need. They had the alms house. So many people came. They got the alms. Were all of them Ramakrishna? No. But here, as that type of provision is there, that we find that now and then, a holy man coming out who is really genuine, and his contribution. Throughout the world we find that what a tremendous contribution they have contributed, and from which we are still getting the benefit. The path which we have shown, by following that, we can even get fulfillment in our life. Which personalities are more, influential? Who remembers Caesar? Who remembers Napoleon? But Jesus is still in the heart of millions. Krishna, Buddha is in the heart of the millions. They have shown the way of life from where we get fulfillment. Thousands of years back, they have trodden on this earth, but still people remember them with a sense of gratitude. Why? Because of the contribution. So will you say it is slavery when we follow such person? No, it's not a slavery. So this is the very shallow way of understanding. That when many will be criticizing this Pada Seva, why should I be serving others' feet? It's not, if we take the literal meaning that way, it actually gives us no idea of what actually it intends to say. So with a sense of gratitude, when we serve them, we acknowledge the contribution they have for us, then only those ideas seeps in us. The moment we accept those ideas, acknowledge those ideas, that's the ideas we are culturing. And that's how we start just gradually sipping on this, we sip in those ideas, and we also start getting saturated with those ideas. And that start transforming our life, changing our life. So that's why this service to the holy men has been given so much of importance. That if you serve them, and then what happens? Learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. Just now in the Bhagavad Gita sloka, we just now got that idea. That vidhi pranipatena, praniprashnena sevaya, upadekshanti te jnanam, jnaninas tattva darshani. So learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Enquire with reverence and render service unto him. It's not like just going to the university, paying some money and getting some information from your professor. Whatever person he may be, he is a knowledgeable person. He may be, as far as his character is concerned, I am in no way bothered about it. Whatever he may be, he is knowledgeable. He gives his knowledge. I get his knowledge. I pay him. Spiritual knowledge cannot be acquired that way. It's a life transforming. It's the life that enlightens the life. And so we have to approach with reverence. Because it is not just a mere academic knowledge. It is going to overhaul our personality, transform us by being in their presence. So that's why inquire with this reverence, render service to him. And such an enlightened saint can impart knowledge, as a lamp only can light another lamp. So same way, they can impart the knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. It's not just academic knowledge. He has realized something. And that's why he is the powerhouse of spirituality. He can impart that knowledge to us. As when Narain went to Sri Ramakrishna, Narain, the future Vivekananda, when he went to Ramakrishna and asked that question, "Sir, have you seen God?" What a wonderful direct answer he gave. "Yes, I have seen God." And then the only difference is I see him more vividly, more clearly than I see you. That's a very wonderful idea, because that's the vision, that's the perception which doesn't need your senses. All our perceptions are intermediate. That with the help of mind and senses I have to perceive. That's the direct knowledge. The mind and senses fall off. You have the aparoksha anubhuti, direct. So I see clearer than I see you. That's a more vivid perception. That's one thing. And another is assuring, and I can show it to you. And that's the idea here we find. Because he has seen the truth and he can impart that knowledge to us. So that's why you will find this Pada Seva has really a very deep meaning. And this example we will find in the biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as demonstrated by the king Pratap Rudra. He was the king of Orissa. He wanted to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always denied. He being a very staunch renunciate, he had the idea that association with rich people, influential people, that affects our spirituality. Our spirituality will be affected if we are always in company with the so-called worldly person. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, though the king wanted to meet him, he was somehow avoiding. But on the time of the Ratha Yatra, this car festival, when the cart of the Lord is drawn by the devotees, throngs of devotees. It's a huge festival. In that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw that the king, just like any other humble person, took the broom and started sweeping the street on which the cart will roll. And he was cleaning the street with water, that water also smeared with the sandalwood. Seeing this, all doing this menial job like any other people, he and all his associates, all those who were the royal ministers, they also were accompanying him in doing this service to the Lord. Seeing that, this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart melted. And that's how Prataprudra got the chance to meet him, come in his presence. And that's, we know, it's a history, that how tremendously he was influenced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was not getting scope. Just by doing this service, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also considered as the incarnation of Krishna. Radha and Krishna, both. He is an incarnation of both. His Bahir Radha Anta Krishna, as if Lord is sitting inside, outwardly he is full of devotion like Radha, and the Lord is seated in his heart. So he is the incarnation of the Lord and his Shakti. And at last we find his blessing comes through this Pada Seva, through this service. Even the king gets the blessing of the Lord when he is humble enough to accept the Lord as the be-all and the end-all of the entire existence. And he renders and he relates to him and renders him through this all his service. So that's the incidents we find even in this life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the descendants of the king also, they all still reenact this service of sweeping the road every year. That has become a tradition. Now there is no such, the kings are just for, to maintain the tradition, the kings are there. They are not even staying in Orissa. They stay overseas. But during the Jagannath, this car festival, they come every year. They fly back to India and they'll make it a point to be there at that time and do the same service as was done by the Prataprudra. It has become a tradition. It's still going on. So Bhagavatam states that as the previous three processes of bhakti was purifying, this Pada Seva also, as far as effect is concerned, is purifying. It cleanses our mind. When we are rendering service in any form, it cleanses our mind. It removes our ego, it makes us humble, and it fills us with a sense of gratitude, and that's how it helps to cleanse our mind. So what's mentioned, we find in the 4th canto, in the 4th part of the Bhagavatam, in the 21st chapter, the 31st verse, what it is saying, Yat Pada Sevabhi Ruchi Tapasvinam Ashesha Janma Upochitam Malang Dhiya. That for many birds, Ashesha, that so much of sin we have incurred, which is Ashesha. Ashesha means as if there is no limit. And they all can be washed by just rendering service to the Lord. Sri Ramakrishna used to say in a very nice way. Girish came and asked Sri Ramakrishna, implored Sri Ramakrishna, is there any way of deliverance for me? I have committed so much of sin. My sin can be compared to the Mount Everest. It's so stupendous. Can you deliver me? Can I be delivered? And Sri Ramakrishna's answer, he was very poetic that way. He says, yes, it's true that your sins are like the Mount Everest. That stupendous it is. But it is all made of wool. Just wool, it is made of wool. And just a small spark is required to burn it off. And the small spark is that divine grace which comes through the blessing. We find this Girish is a wonderful example of that. That with that tremendous faith, he approached Sri Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna used to say that he has 125% that faith. And that faith has washed him. And Girish himself was a poet. He was a dramatist. So he, even in his way of speaking, he used to dramatize his words. And how nicely he is saying that if I knew that there is such a huge receptacle where I can simply dump all my sins, I would have committed more sins. That's what he's saying. So that's what he's saying. There's the same idea. Ashesha Janma, that all the sins which have accrued, which is almost limitless, and that mala is all impurities, that gets washed off. How? Yat pada seva abhiruchi. When you develop that inclination to serve the Lord. All the tapasvis, all the so-called, those who are endeavoring to attain some spirituality just by serving, they cleanse their mind. All their impurities get washed off. Sadhya kshinoti anvaham edhati sati yatha padangushta vinisrita sarita. Very nicely explained. Just the way we say that from the feet of the Lord the Ganga flows. And the Ganga, we say that river Ganga, just take a dip, it washes all your impurities. So from where that Ganga river got the power to purify all? From the feet of the Lord, as it flows from the feet of the Lord. That gives the power. So by serving the Lord, we also get the same efficacy. Just that all our sins get purified. All the sins which we have accrued for many lives, they all get washed when we, with sense of gratitude, we render service to the Lord. How that Lord can be served? Through this holy man, by staying in the holy place and serving the holy man. This can be, all our sins can be washed off. That's the thing which we find is being very explicitly described in the Bhagavatam. So a true devotee wants no other boon than to render service. That's why, because by rendering service, one thing is this purification, and another, you develop love for the divine. And that's why to enjoy the ecstasy of this love, they don't want anything else. They say, no, we are quite happy by rendering this humble service to the Lord. In whatever, even that's the tradition in India, even now you go. That once you go to the temple, go to the Gurudwara, anywhere, the distinctions fall off. There all will be sitting in the same pangat. Whether we are high or low, we are rich or poor, nothing matters. All will be sitting in the same line, and the food will be served. All will be humbly accepting that. And we find that it gives us tremendous sense of fulfillment and joy. So just we are not doing any meditation, nothing. Just sitting in the pangat with all and having the food. And that itself becomes a spiritual practice because it's so cleansing. It cleanses us from all our assumptions. I am such, I am that. It gives us a sense of humility. That also is a way of relating to the divine. And that is a part of this Pada Seva. So, Nakamai Anyang Tava Pada Sevana Akinchana Prarthayata Mat Varang Vivo. So that's what the devotee asks for. That's the only this boon I am asking. That give me the opportunity to serve you, nothing else. That in whatever situation I may be, whether I am rich or I am poor, whether I am learned or ignorant, that doesn't matter. Whatever I may be. Whether I am a very capable, efficient person or I am a stupid, that doesn't matter. I should have the opportunity to serve you. Through that alone I can get a tremendous fulfillment, the inner joy which no one can see. In the entire world, whatever joy is advertised is no joy at all. It's all advertisement. The real joy lies here. It's not something palpably visible. That's why Swami Vivekananda used to say when Nivedita came here that when you are trying to lead this religious life, that no glamours of this external world, no loaves and fishes. It's this humility, the way of leading this life in such a way that no one will understand. Just by offering the small services, you get an inner joy. It is in no way a matter of big advertisement, pomp and glory, show, nothing. With all this service, something is going on within. No one can see that. And that becomes the incentive for all such devotees to render service. And that's why here we find that they are saying, that what the devotee is saying, I want nothing. Just whatever I may be, wherever I may be, just give me the opportunity to serve. The service alone can give that immense joy. So Lord Vishnu says in the Bhagavatam that He is under the control of such holy men who are same-sighted and always willing to render service to all beings. It's very interesting. God says, I become the servant of such a person. That Sri Ramakrishna very nicely says that in the beginning of spiritual life, that God is the magnet, we are the iron filings. And as we grow spiritually, just the opposite thing happens. We become the magnet. God becomes the iron filing. He gets drawn by this humility, by our sense of gratitude, and it is He who as if gets drawn. By forcibly He has to come and relate to His devotee through love, through devotion. That's what his Bhagavan is assuring. What he's saying? Mai nirvaddha hridaya sadhava samadarshana vashi kurvanti. Vashi. He makes me his slave. The Lord is saying, such a devotee makes me his slave. Vashi kurvanti. Mang bhaktya. Sastriya satpating yatha. And this example is very nice. That how he makes a slave? Swami Vivekananda used to say that the best leader is the one. Who is the best leader? He says, small child. The small child is the best leader. Why? He is totally helpless. A small child is totally helpless, but just one cry, the entire family gets concerned. What has happened? What has happened? He is as if leading the family, doing nothing. That by total, that sense of when that we, like a small child, can feel that I have no power. It is the Lord on whom I am dependent. Just the way that a small child, being that helpless, gets the unconditional love of all. He is as if like the leader, the king. So similarly, a devotee also becomes a leader, the king, when he can totally surrender to the Lord and feel that it is the Lord who is all-powerful, almighty. It is He who is working through all of us. We are just instrument in His hand. When he feels that, he becomes like the king. And here in Bhagavatam, there is a nice example that in the olden days we find that it is the males, the male member who were earning members. The wife were doing the household work. So as if the woman folk had to depend on the men. The men were the lead, the one who were just the lords, and the so-called wife is as if a subordinate. But actually it was the opposite. The wife, just by loving service, used to make the husband their servant. That's the idea here we say. That the same way the Lord becomes our servant. That when the Lord is saying that He becomes servant, it's the real sense to get that. He's giving that example. Just the way striya satpating yatha. Just the way the wife, just by rendering the service this devotional service to the family, to the Lord, you find that the husband has become subdued. He has developed a sense of respect, gratitude. He has as if become just like a slave. The same way, a devotee by rendering service makes the Lord his slave. What a wonderful example he's giving. So Mayini, so as a chaste woman, bring their gentle husband under the control by service. The pure devotees who are equal to everyone and completely attached to me in the core of the heart bring me under their full control. So what this Bhagavatam is very, very, very powerful. The slokas, it is poetic, and at the same time it speaks so directly. Its examples are so direct that you feel that immediately it just strikes you. It creates an impression in the mind. And that's how the Bhagavatam is explaining the importance of this Pada Sevanam, which has a very wide implication. The serving the entire creation by knowing for certain that is the Lord and Lord who has become this, and serving more, this intensely to his greater manifestation, like the holy man who resides in these holy places, by going and staying there and serving them. So this is the gist of the Pada Sevanam, which has been spoken of in the Bhagavatam as the fourth this practice of the ninefold practice. The first, as we have already studied, was the Sravana, Kirtana, Smarana, and this Pada Sevana. Next will come Archana, and this Sakhya, Dasya, Sakhya, Atma Nivedana. All this we will take up one by one in the succeeding classes. So with this, we conclude our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskars.